Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Suzerain, where last episode we made a deal that might just save this run. Maybe. Let's see. Okay, new report. Yeah, we changed those amendments. And now to try and fuck over the corporations. Lucian and I arrived at the Ministry of Economy. Assistants took our coats and showed us to the meeting room where Simon, Edith, Gus, and Mikhail were waiting. As soon as I entered, their chatter stopped and they stood up. After a few pleasantries, everyone but Simon took their seats. He opened his briefcase, produced a folder, and proceeded to go over some of the documents. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Ministry of Economy. Without further ado, we are here today to discuss our economic move towards nationalization. Both Mikhail and Edith had their arms crossed and frowns on their faces. They were listening intently. Mr. President, before you arrived, certain individuals in this room were voicing their opinion against nationalization plan. But I understand that your decision has already been made. Which certain individuals? We don't need to ask. Exactly, I will not be swayed. Let's move on to how we can go about implementing a nationalization plan, Mr. President. He handed me and everyone else in the room two neat stacks of documents. Please turn to page 14. Sure. The title was Heart of Sorland. As you can see on the documents, the first corporation for discussion is Heart of Swordland. Led by fledgling CEO Marcel Caranti, HOS has recently observed a boost in their revenue. They control many media organizations across Swordland. It's possible to see their imprint everywhere from newspaper stands to convenience stores. In fact, they own more than half of the media products in the country. That is not good. We all know how much of an effect media has on politics. That is the reason I think if we are to nationalize any corporation, HOS should be our target. I must add that I myself am against fully nationalizing any of these companies in principle. However, we could partially move the ownership of HOS to the state, gaining access to their income to help end the recession and provide for our citizens. I'm inclined to agree with you on political perspective. However, if we are going to nationalize HOS, I think we should go all the way and fully move to ownership to the state. We really have no, we have no choice here, right? I already know what to do. Let's move to our next option. Very well. Please turn to page 37. Bergia Steel. It is the largest private corporation in the Big Four and therefore the largest in Sorland. It has been the helm of steel manufacturing for many years. It is led by the current CEO of and Lothburg's spokesman Walter Tusk. I believe all of us in the room are familiar with him in one way or another. What can I say? They have been widely successful since their founding. They have achieved renown not only in Sorland but worldwide. I believe we shouldn't attempt to break something that is already working. I am against the nationalization of Bergia Steel in any capacity. Yes, but I do not like Walter Tusk. Not to mention, any amount of nationalization would be disastrous to both Bergia Steel and Sorland. Much of our steel trade is reliant on their manufacturing capabilities, and sudden change there will be like throwing a screwdriver in a working engine. No matter what, we should refrain from nationalizing them. It could result in an economic crisis. I don't have so strong of an opinion, but I will say that nationalizing both Bergia Steel and HOS would be quite unwise. What about the minority share? As I mentioned, I am against making changes to Bergia Steel's ownership. We should leave the company as it is. I tend to agree, but only because HOS is the weaker of the two and is less risky to deal with them as opposed to a giant like Bergia Steel. Okay, fine. Don't touch Bergia Steel. Sounds good. Let's go over the documents once again then. I read all of Simon's documents once more, then flipped to the last page. It was time to make some decisions. Full nationalization. Fine, I won't touch Bergia Steel. I don't like it, but yes, I'm sure. I signed the documents altering the ownership of the Big Four with a flourish. Simon leaned back in his chair. So, this is the path we are taking. I mean, Big Four, but we only we only messed with two. Although I'm very much against nationalization of any company, I'm glad you at least chose to leave Bergia Steel alone. If I were Mr. Tusk, I would be very happy with this decision, right, Edith? She chuckled. For sure. This has been fruitful meeting. I agree. I must look into implementing these changes. Before you start that discussion, I am afraid Edith and I will have to leave. We need to report the outcome to our companies to make sure we can mitigate the impact. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. They gathered their belongings and left the room hurriedly. That will be it for today then. I know everyone has had a very busy schedules. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Simon. My pleasure. I put documents in my suitcase and left the room with Lucian. I don't like leaving Tusk in charge of economic power. But sure. Unified Education Language Act. All education in Sutherland are required in the country's official language. Fuck off. Results of the economic direction. This should be fun. Look who it is. With the nationalization decisions made, all that was left was for Sutherland's two most prominent oligarchs to sign the paperwork, and so I called them both to the palace conference room. Lucian shoved Marcel Caronti and Walter Tuscan. They sat across the table from me, leaving one empty chair between them. Walter was watching Marcel with a vile smirk on his face. You think you could go behind my back, boy? Come on, I wouldn't be in my position if I didn't know how to play my cards right. You still have a lot to learn. Now that Daddy isn't around to hold your hand. Shut up, Walter. Gentlemen, before the conversation is derailed further, Lucian moves over to Marcel and finds out the agreement papers in front of him. Miss Granty, here are the agreement that pertains to the nationalization of HOS and the transfer of your shares to the state. He pointed to various sections on various pages on the document. You will need to sign here, here, and here. I won't sign anything without reading it first. He started going through the papers. When he finished, he turned back to the first page and went over the whole stack again. And again, and again. Is there a problem? I have to make sure I understand an agreement that takes my whole life's effort away from me. He started checking his pockets. I don't have a pen. Walter immediately produced a pen from his pocket and put it in front of Marcel with a toothy grin. The pen had a large Bergia steel symbol with the name of the company engraved on it. There you go. Marcel reluctantly signed the papers after letting out a deep sigh. My pen, please. Take your stupid pen. He turned to me, eyes blazing. You can forget about getting re-elected, Mr. President. I will make sure it doesn't happen. You just threatened the President of Sutherland? Oh, because you would never do such a thing, would you, Walter? Fuck you. This is ridiculous. Know your place, little boy. Mr. President, are you just going to stay silent in the face of these blatant threats? We need to be punished swiftly. Surely you can't let him speak to you like that. You're a son of a... No need for escalation. He doesn't have any power anymore. I won't underestimate what he can do, President. An animal is most dangerous when he is cornered. A man like Marcel would prove difficult in the future for sure. No, there is no need. Very well. See, Marcel, this is called graciousness and mercy. Two traits that you have never had. Your words don't work on me, Tusk. Mr. President, you are being played. Mark my words, one day he will turn on you as well. Oh, I know. I am not you, Marcel. Mr. President Walter, I'll see you both in hell. Hope it's nice and warm there. Marcel packed his belongings and furiously exited the room, closing the door loudly. Walter followed shortly after. This should be fun. Rumberg informs of whistleblower escape. Escape whistleblower headed to Swordland. Interesting. HOS nationalized. Confrontation before the vote. The Maroon Palace was bustling with activity as party leaders and their entourages filed in one by one to discuss the latest changes to the constitutional reform proposal. Inside the presidential office, the tension was thick in the air and the sound of hushed whispers filled the room. I shifted my seat, scanning the room as the leaders of the USP with Gloriatory in the front walked in. Receive places version of the reform proposal. Hey, I understand there has been some concern about the latest additions to the reform proposal. Please have a seat. Let's discuss this like rational adults. Yes, let's do that. But today, Miss Story will be speaking on behalf of the party. The party leaders exchanged wary glances before taking their seats. Sure, very well. Let's begin, shall we, Miss Story? Well, Mr. Rain, I think it's fair to say we're all here because we're deeply concerned about the way you're trying to push the party in a direction its own members don't approve of. After you realized you didn't have my support, you made changes to win over some bloodish and liberal voters. Plain and simple. Either you're proving to be a worse politician than President Alfonso, or is this your plan to destroy our legacy and legitimacy? Her voice was taut with anger. Yeah, there's a reason behind my decision. Let me explain, and I'm sure you will approve. Oh? She leaned forward, her hands gripping the table's edge tightly. You're still continuing with this? It seems you don't understand, Mr. President. We didn't organize this meeting for you to convince us. On the contrary, we are here to confront you and make sure you understand your current position within the USP. You may be the president of this republic, Mr. Rain, but know this, you lost the support of the party. Ah, fuck. You can speak. What's the meaning of this? I know what the meaning of this is, but no need to look for hidden meanings, Mr. Rain. I thought I was very clear. The leaders of the USP watched us in silence with weathered faces. Alvin Calvin didn't make any eye contact. So you're saying the USP will unanimously vote against the proposal after all this hard work? You should have thought about your hard work before pushing us into a corner. Mr. Rain, your time with this party is through. We're fucked. Good luck finding votes to your reforms. Not even your pet vice president can help you with right now. She stood up and turned to the leaders of the party. Gentlemen, we have another Alfonso in our hands. You know what to do. She then turned to me and reached her hand for a handshake. Thank you for the meeting regardless. No. No point in begging. Shook hands. Have a good day, Mr. Rain. She, together with the rest of the leadership and their entourage, left the room with slow steps. It seemed my own party had abandoned me. A few minutes later, Peter joined me inside. So, how did it go? Yeah, to be completely honest, I think we're screwed. Yet. For a second, I sensed desperation in his eyes. This is bad. He plastered on a forceful smile. I told you we can't trust anyone except each other, Anton. We knew we were always on our own. Don't worry, we'll find a way out of this just like we always have. Yeah, I wish I could be that optimistic. Come on, Anton. How many hopeless situations have we found ourselves in before every single time we managed to weather the storm? He puts his hand on my shoulder. Hey, screw the party. And the PFJP. They're all a bunch of snakes anyways, every last one. Let's get some fresh air. There's not much we can do about the reforms now. Fuck. No, Peter, go ahead. I'm not in the mood. Come on, Anton, you need to get out of this stress a little. Fine, let's go. Great. We left the office together. Oh, we are so screwed. USP released a statement against the president. Interior Ministry confirms the validity of Fatih El Ejal's intelligence. Great, at least something panned out. Assembly vote on the constitutional changes. Yeah, let's get this over with. We're fucked. Serge was driving me towards the Grand National Assembly for today's historic vote. It was a big day. I wondered whether my attempt at changing the constitution would end any differently than Alfonso's. I looked out the window as noise of the city diminished and saw that we were already inside the palace complex. The complex housed the buildings of all government branches in the center of Holsord. It was one of the biggest developments in Sorland. The Moon Palace stood on a small hilltop surrounded by trees. We passed by the palace and entered the forest that separated from the Grand National Assembly. We drove on the small road that wound through the forest. It was a warm day, so I rolled down the window. I could hear birds singing from the trees. Are you okay back there, sir? I'm stressed about today. I'm sure it's going to work out fine, sir. Don't stress yourself. Serge made a left turn about the forest and entered the vast garden area of the assembly. Do you know that Mr. Tarquin Sol came to Holsord this morning? Ah, fuck. I heard some politicians talking about it today. Apparently, this is the first time he's come to the city in the last 5 years. I thought he left the mainland and lived on Duru Island, never to return to politics. But they were saying he might be here to exercise his Member of Honor rights for the first time. That's troubling. You think he's here because of today's vote? Yes, Serge, most likely. Well, I'm sure he will support you, sir. I'll doubt that. Serge drove inside the gates of the parkway and parked the car. We have arrived, sir. Thank you, Serge. Good luck with the vote, sir. My family and I are all behind you. I'm sure Sordland is as well. I wish Sordland was like you, Serge. I walked up to the white stone stairs on the Grand National Assembly. The entrance looked like a temple gate from the classical era. The door opened to reveal vast corridors of wood and white stone. I joined the crowd of people who were walking slowly towards the parliamentary hall. Suddenly, I noticed Lucian emerge from the crowd of packed politicians in front of me. He looked relieved when he saw me. Ah, sir, there you are. Have you seen Vice President Vector? He is nowhere to be found. I've just arrived here, Lucian. I hope Mr. Vector arrives soon, too. At any rate, how about yourself? Are you ready to finally face the assembly, sir? Lucian, I've just heard something worrying for Serge. We'll address that later, sir. Come, we must go inside. We followed the crowd into the parliamentary hall. After we were inside, Lucian and I separated to take our assigned seats. I went up to the mezzanine overlooking the hall and sat down. I waited as the MPs took their places inside the hall one by one. After a while, I saw Gloria walk to her elevated seat at the center of the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will shortly begin today's agenda of the USP's proposed change to the Constitution of Sorland. After a short while, everybody was in their seats. Unfortunately, the proposal in question was altered after it was received by the Assembly. Therefore, I have to go over each of the points again. According to the current constitution, constitutional amendments require two-thirds majority in order to reach the Assembly's approval. If the vote succeeds, the proposal will be sent to the Supreme Court. The proposal in question includes these points. Starts reading the proposal to the Assembly. First section of the changes to Article 57 is modified with the following. She continued reading the proposal, highlighting each section. Section 2, paragraph 36. She went on. May not exercise his right to, and on. The justices of the Supreme Court, most of the MPs seemed like they were already falling asleep. A simple majority is considered. The seat was really hurting my back. Section 4, paragraph 44A. Felt like an eternity had passed. Finally, she finished reading the changes. I hereby invite all of you to vote. She struck her gavel down. The loud bang made some MPs jump up in shock as they woke from their deep sleep. As I previously stated, it will require a two-thirds majority in order to pass. You may now cast your votes. This is gonna be horrible. I felt the need to stand up and stretch. I looked down the hall from the platform I was seated on. Some assembly members immediately walked to the ballot box to cast their votes. Most of them, however, began to congregate in groups around the hall discussing the changes. Yeah, go down to the hall where all the MPs are. I descended from the mezzanine down to the hall. As soon as I reached the bottom of the stairs, Casaro Kidner approached me. Mr. President, how are you feeling about the vote? I'm hoping for the best. The best outcome for this proposal is failure. I have lost my respect for you, Mr. Rain. So many problems in Soylent that must be addressed, and yet you insist on stalling us with your democratic reforms. I know you will fail, you will lose the game, and so will our entire administration. I hope to be there when it happens. Shove it up your ass. Keep hoping, Mr. Kievener. He laughed. He abruptly turned away from me and walked towards his seat. Then I saw Lucian waving at me. He was among a group of people in the corner of the hall. I walked up to him. On my way, I bumped into Mosun Leke. Mr. President, I'm sorry I didn't see you there. Today is a big day. Let's win this together, shall we? I really hope so, Mr. Radke, but I wouldn't be so optimistic. So you couldn't get your party together after all. In any case, let's see what the results are first. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go cast my vote. He shook my hand and walked away. I finally reached Lucian, but now deep in conversation with another member of our party, he excused himself and turns towards me. Sir, did you vote yet? We have to be quick. What's the rush? I'll explain on the way. I signed my vote and prepared the envelope. Together, Lucian and I walked on the center of the hall to cast our votes. He kept rushing me through the process. Gloria bowed her head slightly in respect as she saw us vote. Lucian pulled on my arm and whispered in my ear, Mr. President, we may have a problem. Tarkin Sol is here. I know. You have to accelerate the voting process. We need everybody to vote as soon as possible. We don't know what he's capable of right now, but if assembly members see him, he might influence them against the proposal. Should I talk to him? I would advise against that right now. The assembly must focus on the vote. Any confrontation between the two of you would draw their attention away. Yeah, let's go back to our seats. Any noise we make will distract everyone further. Suddenly, Lucian pulled me aside. Sir, what do we do? He pointed at the back of the assembly, near one of the exits. I followed his finger to see Tarkin Sol sitting there. He looked much older than he had 5 years ago, but I could tell that he had the same fire in him. Some MPs had already gathered around him and were chattering in awe. The assembly gradually went quiet as people started to notice Sol's presence in the hall. Should we do something? We should refrain from giving him the spotlight he expects. Maybe you can address him after the vote. As I was talking to Lucian, I spotted Casaro Kidman walking to the back of the hall towards Tarkin Sol. He bowed in front of Sol and gave him a military salute. Seeing this, more people started to approach him. Suddenly, Gloria came up behind us. Gentlemen, why don't you go back to your seats? Let's follow the procedure. Oh, by the way, we have 251 members today. As you can see, Member of Honor is here. He has already cast his vote. Has he now? So, Mr. Story, how many votes are missing? Only a few. Alvin, Calvin, and three other men approached us with envelopes in their hands, and these must be them. Good day to you, gentlemen, Madam Speaker. Good day, Mr. Calvin. I am surprised to see you here, considering the way you ignored your own party. Don't worry, Mr. President, we are here. Relax. He smiled. He gestured at the man behind him. Let's get this over with, gentlemen. They cast their votes and walked away. Now why don't you two get back to your seats as well? Very well, we shall. We both went back to our seats. When I returned back to the mezzanine, I saw Peter sitting in the chair next to mine. Where were you? I was right here. Where were you? No, you were not. I was here until the voting began. I mean, maybe I was not in this exact seat, but I was here in the assembly. Sure thing. He looked at Gloria, and she and her assistants counted the votes. The speaker's seat was only a few meters away from our platform. I really hope this proposal goes through. It won't. Sol is here. What? He's at the back of the hall. Fuck. He tried to get Gloria's attention by waving at her. How many votes left? Gloria looked at Peter. She looked annoyed. 20 votes left to count. Doesn't look good for you. Peter turned to me. Did you hear that? We are screwed. Ah, shit. Peter looked uneasy. Peter pointed at where Franz Richter was sitting. Look at Franz over there. I'm sure he was behind this mess. You shouldn't have trusted him. Peter, shut up. Well, a single bang from Gloria's gavel reverberated across the hall. Everyone fell silent. The voting has been concluded. I leaned forward to hear the results. The proposal has only 70 ayes. Fuck. It's went even worse than the first try. Shit. Did not even gather a simple majority. Thereby, the Grand National Assembly has decidedly rejected the changes to the Constitution. Fuck. The assembly was roaring with all kinds of different reactions. I felt destroyed. I lowered my head and closed my eyes for a second. God, I'm sorry. We'll find another plan. The MPs kept shouting the hall. Among them, I heard Franz Richter's voice. I blame the president for this result. He and his party's obstructive attitude towards real change doomed him from the start. He and the USP did their best to transform our reform proposal into something unpassable. He's just like his predecessors, enjoying the privilege of the presidency while ignoring the responsibility that comes with it. It's time to realize that real change will only come from the real reformists. The People's Freedom and Justice Party will keep leading this movement. The reformist MPs started applauding him. Suddenly I noticed Tarquin Slaw slowly rising from his seat at the back. He seemed to be struggling and used his cane for help. He stood and gazed around the hall as the members of the Grand National Assembly went silent. Keep watching him as he stared at the MPs. He walked out the exit as two of his guards held the doors for him. Thank God he didn't do anything. I mean, he did plenty already. Sol or no Sol, we are definitely fucked. Neither the party nor the public is going to be pleased. Damn it. We need to hold an emergency meeting to plan our next moves. We both looked down at the floor for a while. After regathering our thoughts, Peter and I walked out of the assembly hall. We waited for a search by the entrance. Well, that happened. Oh god. I was really hoping that the... What is that? I was really hoping that getting the bloods was going to at least help. What are these things? Uh, yeah. Apparently, we're even more fucked than the first time. Well, let's see if we get sent to prison at the end of this one, too. But that is going to have to be left for next episode. Thank you all for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I have been Pope, and I will see you all next time.